Good morning. We have not a lot to talk about today because most of our movie screens here in Hong Kong are showing Captain Marvel, which I talked about last week. So there's not a lot new that's here. There's Mary Queen of Scots, which I am going to talk about. There is On the Basis of Sex, which is about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which I haven't seen, so I can't talk about it. And I think there's a Chinese film. I can't remember, but if there is, I haven't seen it either. So it's a pretty quiet week. And that's it. So Mary Queen of Scots. So late last year, there were two films, two sort of, the British, they love to do these costume dramas, royal things. And so late last year, two films came out from England. One, Mary Queen of Scots, the other, The Favorite. And the two could not have been more different, or they could not be more different, because The Favorite, it's a wonderful dark comedy. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend it. It was my favorite film from last year. And it garnered 144 awards, including an Oscar to Olivia Colman for Best Actress, or Best, whatever they call it. They don't call it Best Actress, but they call it Best Performance by a Leading Actress. Mary Queen of Scots, on the other hand, it plays it straight, and that's not meant to be a pun, as you'll find out shortly, unless you've already heard. But it's only won 4 awards. So, yeah, very different. Good morning. Oh, my client is just texting me, but I'll have to talk to her later. 8:30. Why is she texting me at 8:30 in the morning? So anyhow, Mary Queen of Scots is not a bad film. It's just not a great film. It's not as good as it could have been. So a little bit about the story. It's 1561, and 19-year-old Mary Stuart, played by the wonderful Saoirse Ronan, who we saw in Lady Bird and Brooklyn. She's just returned. Hold on. Okay, she's just returned from did I say Brooklyn? No, she's just returned to her native Scotland from France following the death of her husband, Francis II, who was, by the way, she's really annoying. Oh my God. I don't know why she doesn't send me an email, but anyhow, Francis II was just 16 when he died. Mary Stuart was 19. So if you don't know your British history, or history in general, I guess, or if you don't watch Game of Thrones, people married young and died young back then. Oh my God, she's really driving me crazy. So people married young and they died young back then. So while Mary was away, we learn, which was really for most of her life, she was spirited out of Scotland at a very young age for her protection. Her older half-brother, James Stewart, played by James McArdle, who was in the great, very gritty drama 71 from a few years back, the prison drama. He ruled Scotland as her regent. And with Mary back, she's now ready to take charge. And as the country's Catholic queen, which doesn't sit well with the Protestants, and James is shunted aside, which he agrees to do, but he has very quiet reservations that he shares with his all-male colleagues. Now, meanwhile, down south in England, Mary's cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, played by Margot Robbie, who we know from I, Tonya, and Goodbye, Christopher Robin, and Legend of Tarzan, and The Big Short, and Harley Quinn. And she'll be back as Harley Quinn, right? Oh my God, it's enough already. Jesus. She's even less pleased with the new status quo on her northern border, because aside from practicing a different religion from Elizabeth, who is a Protestant, and Mary has a very strong claim to the British throne, probably stronger than Queen Elizabeth, and it'll only get stronger if Mary produces an heir. And for Elizabeth, she's single. She has no desire to get married, doesn't want to have children. This is a problem. And so she has men around her, and with all the men around her, they all plot to undermine Mary's authority and in Scotland at every turn. But Mary she proves to be a worthy adversary, and even while she's being thwarted every which way, she still tries to bring Elizabeth around to her vision of a unified kingdom under her crown, under the Stuart crown, rather than the Tudor crown. So, it shows like that, Mary is trying to do the right thing. Even though Elizabeth is doing the wrong thing, Mary keeps trying to do the right thing, and it's not working. Now, the film is based on the biography called Mary, Queen of Scots: The True Life of Mary Stuart by a British historian. He's not British, but he's a British historian. I think he's Australian, by the name of John Guy. And this story presents a somewhat different take on the life of this young queen than what we're used to hearing and seeing. Here, Mary has a very liberal attitude towards gender fluidity. Maybe she did. I don't know. Wasn't around 450 years ago, but I find it a little strange. Her eventual second husband. So after Francis II died, she did get married again to somebody by the name of Lord Darnley, and here he's played by Jack Lowden, who was in Denial, and he was in the United Kingdom, and he was also in 71. Lord Darnley is portrayed here as being bisexual. And Mary doesn't seem to mind, as long as he gives her an heir. Again, I wasn't around. Maybe he was. But, okay. But that's not the strangest part. Mary has a very close friend, and this is true. She had a very close friend and a private secretary. He was the Italian musician David Rizzio, and here he's played by Ismael Cruz Cordova, who was in Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. And now here's where I don't know if it's true. He is apparently both gay, and he loves cross-dressing for the Queen. Okay. So now it's not the first time that these two men have been portrayed as gay on the screen. In the 1971 film Mary, Queen of Scots, starring Vanessa Redgrave and Glenda Jackson. Amazing film. I saw a long time ago. I really should watch it again. Both these guys, Darnley and Rizzio, also had a sexual relationship. And I don't think the film, I think, 1971 versus 2019, I think audiences back then were not happy to see gay guys on the screen. So it's not the first time that they've been portrayed as gay. Now, but in this film, Mary offers Rizzio some very 21st century sounding advice, where she effectively tells him to embrace his inner woman. Again, I wasn't there. Who knows? Maybe she did. This film also shares the viewpoint that the two queens finally meet, although historians say that there's no evidence that they ever did. So, it's that part is all speculation that they actually met. Again. So revisionist history aside, Mary, Queen of Scots, the movie, comes really close to being a slog to watch, which is amazing considering you have great actors, and they put in really good performances. This is a really well acted film, but it's a strangely written film, but it's not a well directed film. In terms of pacing, story, pacing, and I would say not so much camera work, because the camera work's fine, but in terms of how the story is laid out, because it goes back and forth between the two kingdoms. It's funny it was kingdoms, though they're both queens. It goes back between the two, between England and Scotland, and and the only time you get the two characters talking together is when they meet towards the end of the film. And it's sort of like you're reading comic books I haven't read comic books in ages, but if you're reading the old style comic books where it goes, meanwhile, back in writes the Archie comics. Meanwhile, back in Riverdale, this was like, meanwhile, back in Scotland, and then dot dot dot, and then meanwhile, back in England, dot dot dot, and it got tedious after a while. So I didn't like that. So I found the story, first of all, it really lacks spark. The story was written by a guy named Beau Willimon. He's done a lot of the scripts for House of Cards on TV, which I've never seen, but everybody loves. So I don't know. This one really, it just didn't have a lot of spark. I found, it was first time director Josie Rourke. She's just going, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth between the two kingdoms. And there's a lot of scenes involving Mary and her all female, including Rizzio, retinue, discussing things, and that really, we're supposed to get a bigger picture of Mary, on what kind of a person she was. I don't know. There was too much of that. This film had a lot of talk and not a lot of action. And when there was action, it wasn't even good action. There is a fight scene between Mary Queen of Scots' people and the Scottish people who were put up to fight her, put up by Queen Elizabeth's forces. There is a battle of sorts. It's nothing like Braveheart. It was really, really poorly. It was poorly done, I would say, in terms of excitement and you see much better battles on Game of Thrones, for example. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have the budget. It really wasn't very good. The other thing that many people who've seen the film are complaining about is that the director really casted colorblind. She had a black ambassador. She had Mary Queen of Scots had an Asian lady in waiting. Kids, you need to get out of the house a little bit more. You need to go see some live theater where typically there is color blindness. Okay, she never had a black ambassador in real life. She never had an Asian lady with. Look beyond. So, you know what? I disagree with all these people. Just shut up, get over it for 2 hours, and then go back and be your racist self later on, okay? To me, this was not an issue. It didn't bother me the least. Okay, you know what? I looked at it and went, oh, okay, she's casting colorblind. Big deal. Right. Now, as far as costume dramas go, as I said, it's not a horrible film. I think the messages here are that the sisters need to work together, because if they don't, look what's going to happen. Okay, wonderful message. Or maybe the other message is, look at, being a woman was as tough 450 years ago as it is today. Okay, nice message. I'm not disagreeing with these messages. It just needed more excitement. So I was disappointed with this film. Not a horrible film. Just certainly don't run out and go see it. Go watch it on an airplane, or I don't know if it's on Netflix. Probably, maybe. I don't know. But you know what? Yeah, don't rush out to see it. If you've already seen everything else in the cinema, okay, go see it. But yeah, not great. So that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. I think next week starts all the films that I'm going to be seeing for the film festival. First, there's Film Art, starts on Monday. That's our industry, film industry trade show. That starts Monday, so I'm going to see a few films Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. I think the festival starts on Thursday, so I know I got a film on Thursday. I think I got 2 films on Thursday. So I think next week we're going to have a lot to talk about. So we'll see. All right, have a good week. Bye. I'm now going to find out what my client wants.